The very technology that has the power to empower us all also has the potential to increase the problems of social exclusion unless we act to bridge the digital divide. Michael Willis, former UK Minister for Learning and Technology. Early attitudes about technology development saw the internet as somewhat of an equalizer, a tool that would finally distribute information and opportunities equally across lines of gender, class, and race. But as more and more of everyday life takes place online, internet use has revealed the same systemic inequalities found in the real world. The digital divide, at its core, refers to the disparities in access to technology and internet connection across different communities. The term also describes notable differences in the way different demographic groups use the internet, and the study of digital divides seeks to understand why these differences occur. The most obvious divide is between those who have access to computers and internet connection and those who do not. But even with access to the necessary tools, there are many systemic factors that affect one's ability to use technology to a meaningful capacity. Niel Selwyn has theorized the idea of technological capital and the ways in which they create digital divides.
Access to informational and communication technologies does not directly equate to meaningful use of these technologies, as material access is useless without the requisite knowledge, skills, and support to use it effectively. I believe that the most comprehensive approach to understanding digital divides includes consideration of the mediating forms of capital that affect access to and use of ITCs. The most obvious form of capital affecting an individual's engagement with technology is economic. Price is often a barrier of access for personal technology and internet connection. But there are also important social and cultural dynamics that underlie meaningful technology use. Cultural capital refers to the extent to which an individual has been exposed to and absorbed the dominant culture. In our context, cultural capital includes the technological skills and knowledge of a technoculture necessary to access and engage with the internet. Similarly, social capital refers to social connections and resources derived from those connections. The size and nature of one social network could also determine internet engagement, as rapid development makes us more and more dependent on computer experts to aid our online experience.
Disparities in economic, social, and cultural capital that impact how individuals engage with the internet are often due to systemic inequalities that disproportionately impact some social groups more than others. Lisa Nakamura explains in her research how the disparities in technological capital manifest in the way these technologies are used.
The idea of digital divides needs to extend further than a question of access to include considerations about how individuals and social groups use the internet. My research began when I came across a study that found POCs spend significantly more time using the internet for entertainment and communication purposes, while white people spend more time in informational and commerce spaces online. I was curious about this phenomenon and directed my research to discover why this digital divide in the way demographic groups use the internet occurs. Information and retail spaces are often dominated by and designed for the white consumer. Entertainment and pop culture, however, tend to feature more images of people of color being creative, innovative, and powerful. This creates the entertainment areas of the internet as a safe and empowering space for racial minorities. Under Niel's model, I believe this phenomenon exhibits cultural capital. It demonstrates the difference in cultural expectations for how POC and their participation is valued in online and offline spaces. Due to systemic oppression, POC are more likely to experience things like financial hardship, which would fall under economic capital, or disparities in education that could bar them from transactional or informational spaces as well.
These ideas from Nakamura and Selwyn help us understand the ways digital divides extend well beyond physical access to technology. It seems like mitigating digital divides is much more complex than just distributing and subsidizing access to these technologies. I think instead, equity requires both correction of systemic factors that create these disparities in capital and perhaps some consideration of how to make online spaces more universally accessible. Elizabeth Ellecessor's research centers internet users with disabilities, but I believe her ideas about how to make the internet more accessible could be beneficial to many. She argues that because everybody has different needs, it's virtually impossible to create one web page that fits all. But perhaps there should be more focus placed on developing web pages that can be adapted to accommodate many different needs. Different interfaces could be designed for the same media that would make it more accessible for a wide variety of intellectual and physical differences, and I believe that different interfaces could also help mitigate differences in social and cultural capital as well. Perhaps some interfaces could include more instructions for those with less knowledge on how to use a computer, or some could include communication platforms to connect with computer experts or assistants over the internet. Many thanks to Niel Selwyn, played by Brian Murphy, Lisa Nakamura, portrayed by Lauren Safner, and Elizabeth Ellecessor for lending their ideas to our discussion on digital divides. This podcast was brought to you by Eleanor Wartell in partnership with Critical Internet Studies. All references will be included in the description.